Hi, I'm Simon from Run the Wild and I'm a trail running guide, and I'm here today to present to you a kit review of the new Nurvv Runs. Now, this is a relatively new product to market and it delivers information about your footfall. So whereas before we've been using wristwatches, Sunto, Garmin, obviously the main leaders in that area in providing information about your run, we're looking at something that tracks your feet. And Nurvv Run have developed this alongside an app that goes with the equipment that you get sent. So if you want to order these, then you need to go online and select your shoe size and gender, and they will arrive in the post just as mine have here. So what have we got inside the pack? So this is what you'll get sent in the post, and inside you'll get two insoles, so left and right. And with them you have got these two trackers. So they are the bits that are recording the information as well as the GPS information, and they will attach onto the insoles. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You also get a couple of adapters here, and that's if you've got thin walled shoes, and a charging cable with adapters. So you can charge these two trackers up. You'll get about 5 hours out of these. There's a left and a right, and you'll notice actually written on here is R for right and L for left. I say that because you do need to know which one is which when you're attaching them to the insoles. Let's have a look and see where the data comes from. So you're going to put this in your shoe, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But you'll see underneath here there are sensors, and there are 16 sensors, and they are picking up data 1,000 times a second and relaying it back via the tracker to your app. And so once you've got these inside your shoes and you're running on them, all that information will be collected and then provided to you in an infographic. The main purpose of Nurvv Runs is to ensure that you have an injury-free run, and they are looking to improve your biomechanics based on what are considered general biomechanical rules. So based on cadence, on foot strike, on pronation, and also step length. And they're pulling that all together, and they're comparing your statistics versus what would be considered ideal form for your own statistics itself. So not only does it do that, it is also promises to be a sort of a coaching app, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. So let's see how we put these inside the shoes. So I've got my Hokas here, and I've got my left shoe. I'm going to take the insole out, pop that here, and then I'm going to take the left Nurvv Run insole and insert that in. Now, if you've got your app downloaded on your phone, you can actually have a look inside the app and go to the support section, which is in the settings, and it will show you how to fit there. There's a lot of information within the app actually, and a lot of help and resources there. So if you're in doubt, check that out as well. So what you want to do, insert the insole in just till the back is sitting on the back lip there, and then you want to take the housing for the tracker and you want to flip it over, and you're going to push that down into the low part of the shoe just there, and that will sort of sit fairly comfortably, and then you can ease the rest of the insole back inside. And it's important that you get that correct because of the comfort. If this is not low enough, it will rub, and also it needs to be fairly secure, which it is. These insoles are around about 55 grams each. That's not a statistic you'll find on their website, but it's something I measured myself. And the trackers, they weigh about 22 grams. Don't forget, this is a training tool, so you're not going to go racing in this. This is something that is going to provide you with information on how to improve your run so that when you get racing, you'll be the best that you can be. So I wouldn't go racing in these because yes, they add weight, but I probably wouldn't go racing in these either because they're not my racing shoe, they're my training shoe. So once you've added the insole inside the shoe, you'll need to make sure these are charged up. and as I've said before, you'll get around 5 hours on these each. When you're charging it, you need to make sure that you're putting the right one on the right side. They're also marked left and right, and once you do that, you can clip it in, and you can clip the other one on the other side, and there you go. Once you've clipped them in, that's when you attach the charging cable. It does have a little warning sign about that on here, because you could snap off the end of the USB cable inside the charger. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm just going to show you a couple of other features about the trackers before we get into this. This is a lot of kit, and I recommend that you find out as much information about it before you use it. Don't be tempted to just get out there and use it. It doesn't work like that. It requires you to set it up correctly. So once you've got this inside your shoe, you've got it charged, you'll need to download the app. And on the app, it will require you to put in some statistics, personal statistics about yourself, and that's all going to feed into how it interprets your biomechanics. Once you've done that, you'll probably want to get out and use it and go for a run, which is good. So this is where we need to think about how do we call the run. So you can either do it on the app itself, and if you open that up, you'll find the section where you can go run. It's listed on the bottom of the screen. You can choose to do either an outdoor run or an indoor run. Now, with the outdoor run, be aware that these are not really suitable for trail, for two reasons really. The first is the fact that trail is really uneven, and therefore your cadence, your foot strike, it's going to be pretty random. It's going to depend on the topography of the trail, so much so that even if you ran the same trail twice, you'd end up with varying results. And that's number two reason why it's not consistent. And you've got to think about the ideal scenario for using these would be in a laboratory, really, and that's probably where they've been thought about. Rather than going to pay for some expensive gait analysis, you've got the power in your hands here to find out what that is. So as Nurvv suggests, you need to make sure that your surfaces that you're running on are flat, even, and that you're consistent in your running. I've been very fortunate to have a good chat with Nurvv Run, so everything that I talk about here in the kit review is not just about the information that I found out in using this, and not just looking at what's in the app or everything else like that, but also genuinely had a chat with the support team. Sherry and her team have been really, really helpful, very, very supportive, and it's very clear they're very enthusiastic about their product. So going back to starting your run, you'll need to make sure that everything is up to date in regards to firmware. I had to do a firmware update before I started using these. That was all managed through the app, no problem at all. And if you're going to select an outdoor run, then you need to wait for the GPS to be picked up by these two trackers. You then need to make sure that you turn them on, and there's a little button here on each one of them, and you'll see it flashing on the sides here, on both sides, and when it's a green pulsing light, it's ready to go. So you can either start the run on your phone, and I would recommend doing that for the first time. It's going to be a lot clearer, you're going to be able to see what's going on, or you can indeed use these without any GPS function, without a phone either. So you could either use the tracker, and there's a big button on the right tracker, and you can just hold that down, and then you can start your run, and that you can use that for indoor, so without GPS being required. Or indeed you can use it outdoor and still pick up the GPS, but you can then leave your phone at home. So warning folks, do not look at your phone whilst running. That's really critical, and you'll be tempted to do this. So initially, when you're getting started with this, I would choose a safe place to run, and you can then look at your phone safely. But really, once you get going with this, you want to put the phone away and focus either on what it's telling you through audio cues or via one of the watches that is compatible with this product, of which there are a list on the website. So you're ready to go, you've got GPS synced, you've got these synced with the app on the phone, and you hit the run button. So off you go, and it will then tell you some detail that you would already expect to see. So distance, time, pace, and cadence. That's if you're running outdoors. Now, if you're running indoors, you're also going to get information about your left and your right foot strike. One of the things that I found in this review was, why wasn't all that information accessible to me? At the end of the day, we've bought this product to find out about all that beautiful biomechanical data that we are producing every foot strike. And I just felt that it wasn't freely available enough. It's there, so maybe we'll see some additional data being provided. Back to your run. You've finished your 5K or whatever it is. Make sure that during your run, if you stop and start walking, that you pause your run. So you can do that either via the app, or you can just do it by pressing the activation button on these trackers. And otherwise, you're just going to muddy all that data. So if you're perhaps doing a track session, you want to make sure that you're pausing it in between. Now, I've spoken to Nurvv, and they are looking at doing an auto pause based on your movements. So maybe there'll be a feature there in the future. When you want to stop it, you'll need to hold down the stop button either on the app, or if you're using the trackers, to stop it for at least 4 seconds. Then it will appear on the app as a quick run. That'll be the name of it. Now, at the moment, you can't change the names of any of those runs, but that is going to come in another update. Just bear in mind that Nurvv only released this in January of 2020, just ahead of COVID-19. And they have been busily trying to create updates, and they are super keen to hear of any suggestions and respond to those as their community brings that to them. So good effort. You know, it's very easy to find things that are not there at this stage but will be further down the line. Looking at your runs, you can then see all of the information that we were talking about. You can't see the balance between the 2 feet. You can infer it by looking at the data, but you can see that once you've completed 4 runs. So once you've completed 4 runs, you'll get a health score. And if you go back to what I was talking about before, this is all about improving your ability to stay injury-free and your running of form. So why would you want to do that? Why would you want to stay injury-free? Most people will understand that, and actually a lot of runners do get injured over time. Knee pain, foot pain, shin splints, lots of different things that crop up, and you'll hear about when people are training for marathons and so on. But the other thing I mentioned was running form, and running form appears under running economy. And if you know much about yourself as a runner, running economy is one of those aspects that you can improve as a runner, and it features things like cadence, running more, strength and conditioning, and maybe even losing a bit of weight, and that will make you a more economical runner, and therefore be able to run quicker, run more injury-free, etc. And this is the focus of this equipment, of this app. So when you've uploaded those 4 runs, you'll get a lot of that information, and that will be on a rolling 28-day basis. You'll be able to see how that's working out, whether your pronation is good, or whether you're sort of perhaps overpronating or underpronating. Perhaps you are more of a heel striker, and therefore the suggestion will be, in current thinking, that you should head towards more midfoot or front foot to perhaps avoid some of those injuries that are associated with that kind of foot strike. So you're going to get lots of that information. You can check into each run and see it there, and then it's going to produce it to you in a nice infographic on the app. And you can dig down into that detail as much as you like, and I thought that was really well presented and easy to see. It requires you using, obviously, this app on a regular basis as well, so you need to keep charging these trackers and making sure that you're using them every time you go out for a run. Now, the next part of the app, and probably the bit that will get most people a bit excited, is looking at the pace workouts. Now these are various terminology used within the app. There's Pace Optimizer, which I think was the previous version of what they thought they would present this app, but it's all the same thing, and it's all about giving you some kind of workout based on previous runs that you can then either increase your pace against or decrease it, perhaps if you're doing a recovery run. Now this talks about it being a coaching app. This is not a coaching app in the traditional sense. A traditional coaching application would look at whether you should be running intervals tomorrow. Should you be doing a hill session? Have you gone out for your 15k? Are you sticking to your zone 1-2 training? And that's very much traditional coaching. But what this does deliver is coaching around your pacing in regards to your biomechanics. And it's looking at two key things. One is your step length, and the second is your cadence. Now, I've already mentioned cadence quite a few times, but it is one of the key things in running economy. And cadence is based ideally around 180 steps per minute. Elite runners will always be running at least that. So even though they might have really weird and wonderful biomechanics when you look at them, and there's quite a few famous runners that have that, they still have really high cadence, and that can even go up to something like 220 steps per minute. And a good way of looking at your cadence and thinking about it is either listening to a metronome or perhaps listening to a song. A lot of kind of dance songs have that quite high BPM, and you can even go on some of the music apps and download some that are recommended for running. Now that will vary a little bit around your own personal statistics. So if you're tall, you're short, your gender, all those kind of things will be factored in, and that will then tweak that. So this app is very much aware of that. The other aspect that I mentioned is step length, not to be confused with stride length. Stride length is a combination of two steps, so left, right, that would be a stride length. So half of that is a step length. And if you have the step length plus the cadence, well, that's going to give you the speed. So when you open up the workout session, and you can do that once you've completed 4 runs, you can reference one of your historical runs, and from there you will be able to change how the effort will be for the next run. Now, if you look in the help section of the app, you'll see that there are 3 suggested workouts: intervals, running faster, and a recovery run. It doesn't go beyond that. You will still end up putting the same information into your workout. So it feels like perhaps there's been some interest in development there, but it kind of stopped. And I think it would be really, really good to have it, because you need more guidance in regards to inputting this information. So for example, you want to run the same distance that you did last time, 5k, and you want to run it a little bit quicker. So you'll pick one of your historical runs, i.e. a base run is how they call it, and you will then pick your next effort. So perhaps you want to make it a little bit harder, run a little bit faster. Now the effort, and I had a good chat with Nurvv about this, it's all based around your pace. So an elite runner will be running maybe in a marathon 4-minute 20-second miling. Now if you ran one of your historical runs like that, well, fantastic, that's amazing. But it would appear as an effort on there up towards around about the 100 level, and that's as far as you can go. If you decided to kind of moonwalk around the park and chill out, then it's going to be around about 0. So you can see the kind of the scales, and that's how that fits in there. So it's an historical run. They will calculate roughly what your effort was put into that based on the pace of that run. So when you're putting in your next expected effort, you want to run faster, you might want to move it, say, from something like 50 to 60, and from that it will tell you what the expected pace will be and the time it will it will take to do that run. Obviously it will be a bit shorter because you've decided it to be a faster run. I think this is where they could add more guidance in. Key thing, folks, here is the fact that you should not increase your intensity or volume of running by more than 10% per week. And that is all about injury avoidance, which we know is the main focus of this app. So it needs to be in there. So once you've selected that, you will get a target cadence, and you'll see your reference cadence or your base cadence, and you'll also get a target step length, and that's also against your reference point. And then the fun starts. So you can either save that and do the run later, so you could prepare this perhaps the night before, or when you've got a 5-minute work break, something like that, and then use it readily for when you go out running later. And so when you're ready to start it, you select the workout, and the same as before, off you go. This time though, the screen is different. You will have two things on the screen that you're going to draw your attention. The first is that step length, and the second is cadence. And if you've got the audios on, and I suggest that is used that way because you don't want to be running looking at your phone because it is dangerous, then it'll tell you to either increase or decrease either of those factors. Now, I've used this and I did find it a little bit confusing. Step length and cadence are inextricably linked, and therefore if you are trying to increase your step length but also increase your cadence, it's slightly counterintuitive. So it's very interesting though. Do try it, and I did get there. I managed to increase both my cadence a little bit and also my stride length. Now, the app has huge amounts of information, and this is true for both parts of the app. The one that's surrounding the health score and recording your runs on a daily basis, if that's how often you run, and the other part of the app, which is much more about looking at workouts and suggesting workouts for you. And you'll need to click through and find out, what does cadence mean? How do you improve your cadence? But there's lots of information in there, and it's really interesting to read. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not so interactive. It'd be great if this popped up every time you were interacting with the app, and it's one of my firm recommendations that it becomes much more interactive. You don't need to be seeking out the library of information that's in the app. It's all there, it just needs to be made more accessible. So if you look up step length and cadence, which are the key components of this workout feature, you'll notice that step length is generally a byproduct of other exercises. So they would be strengthening exercises to your legs, plus also a flexibility aspect. So things like ballistic exercises, hill training, intervals, they will make your step length greater. But if I tell you whilst you're running to increase your step length, you are going to be tempted to throw your foot further forward than it would normally go when it lands. And the problem there is that it could lead you to going back to that dreaded heel strike that we've been talking about for the last 20 years, which has been generally understood to increase risk of injury, which is against what this app is trying to focus on. So I think another little recommendation there for Nurvv Run would be to have a little bit more interactive advice about that really cadence is actually your priority, and then once you've got that nailed, start looking at some of the other aspects. Certainly step length you can look at, and hopefully it will come if you are following some of those other drills that they recommend. So we've got a really interesting app. It's putting out lots of data, collecting lots of data. How come I can't see more data when I am using it? That is a shame. So why can't I do more workouts that are based around pronation, foot strike, etc.? It's all there. It would be brilliant to have it. But that's not to say that it won't happen, because I know that Nurvv are producing lots and lots of updates as we go through the year. And so I think this is a really exciting bit of technology and could make you a better runner, motivate you, and also help you to stay injury free.